right, we're back here for Ask Father Friday. And the question that has been brought up today is kind of what's the deal with silence? Why is it important? And I remembered, when you start seminary, you have to start these retreats. And so each year there's a yearly retreat. And for ours, we had two choices. We could go to kind of an Ignatian retreat out as a silent retreat, or we could do a directed retreat. So you're kind of, we went with the Bon Secours sisters. And so we were out there. You basically have spiritual conferences. A director comes in and you have that during the day and eat and sleep. And then the evenings you have recreation time. So it's kind of fraternal bonding, watch TV, play games, hang out. So it was a good time. And I did that the first 2 years. So the first 2 years, that was kind of what I was drawn to. And so I was like, well, the third year, man, time to grow up. So I took the next step and took the silent retreat. So it's a 5-day silent, no tech, no TV, no nothing, no connection to the outside in any way. No words, it's complete silence other than the meeting with your spiritual director once a day. And that's kind of what you do. Foods in silence. Eating food in silence with people, love it. It's deliciously awkward. So you have to kind of not stare at the people because it's all the connection, the silent connection. So you kind of go off to your corner and eat. I love fires. Man, I sit and read in front of fires and then go to the chapel and pray. And just kind of, that's where I live, back and forth, maybe some walks outside. But that's when I began to do that, I began to realize that there was so much more to be taken from that, in that silence. The recreation part is good, it has its place. But as far as spiritual development and connecting with our Creator, there's a whole different realm in so many ways. And as I began to think about it, it's like, it's the silence where we are receiving. So it's in the silence that we begin to sit and we begin to listen. Where we're not the ones making the noise. We're not the ones always talking. And so we begin to exercise those higher faculties, that which makes us in the image and likeness of God. Those higher faculties that separates us from the beast. There's a part of us that always wants to be entertained. Are you not entertained? That wants to be entertained, that wants to be built up, that wants to be emotional. Everybody has that song they like to sing, or a new song gets stuck in your head and they're belting it out here and there, and it gets things going, or certain kinds of praise and worship, and that's part of it. But as you begin to exercise the higher faculties, it's there that in the silence, your intellect is opened. That who you are, you can begin to engage on a certain level, who you are and who you're called to be. That person, God, who has created you, in that silence, as we often hear in scriptures, begins to come to you and to speak in the silence, in the whisper, as we hear in the scriptures. And in the scriptures, what do we always hear? Man, they're going out into the wilderness. They're retreating to a deserted place. The desert fathers, they go to the desert. They begin to look inside. They begin to listen in this classroom of silence, as sometimes it is called. And that's what each of us in many ways are called to do, more now than ever. We deal with tech on levels that those desert fathers would have never even imagined. And so it's that much more important for us now. They knew it back then with the hubbub that they had. And they said, man, I need to get away from all that. Imagine all the tech and pieces now, and the need for us as human beings to begin to be silent. There's a certain level, it's a reality. As we become, how do I put it? For example, I was reading through some of this, The Power of Silence, Cardinal Seurat and his Against the Dictatorship of Noise. I love that title. And he talks about, for example, we have to learn how to be before we can learn what to do. So we have to try to be before we can begin to try to do. And being is that understanding, that silence and existing before our God and Maker. And as we begin to build that connection with Him, then we can come to understand what to do, as opposed to always doing and never focusing in on the reality. The reality is, when I sit in the quiet and I have to sit with myself, I have to deal with some things. Who am I? What am I doing? What are my habits? What's going on in life? Where am I going in life? What do I have to do still? What am I doing well? All questions that we have to stop. If every time I stop, I'm on my phone, I'm looking at social media, I'm on Netflix, I never take the time to do any of that. And no excuses of, oh, big family, lots going on, this and that. No, there's always a minute or two. I'm always amazed by our families when we have our holy hours. Some of our families, I'll see the parents rotating. One parent will come in and be there in their quiet prayer time, holy hour, or in the adoration chapel. And then the next time, the other spouse takes care of the kids and dinner, whatever has to be done. And there, the other spouse comes in and has their prayer time because it's prioritized. It's important. Make it a priority, and you'll begin to be able to do it more and more. In that same book, in The Power of Silence, the Joseph Rossum, he's quoted as one of the philosophers, and he says, listen, speech, although it's speech that characterizes man, yes, but it's the silence that defines him. It's in the silence, again, that we approach this reality of who we are and who our Creator is and how He speaks to us in the Spirit. And it's so important, so important. From my own spiritual life as a priest, in our seminaries and our retreats, to each of us taking time in the day, whether it's a couple minutes in the morning or at night. So often in the scriptures at night, the power of prayer at night is always prevalent, where everything stops. And in the quiet, you can begin to reach out to your Lord and see what's going on. What do I need to do? So I encourage you, reach out, be a disciple of the Classroom of Silence. Find little books about it if it's helpful. As I mentioned, The Power of Silence here by Cardinal Sarah is a nice reflection on it. But whatever you do, take a second. Stop, retreat, whether it's to a closet in your house, whether it's to the church. Come and retreat. Take a couple minutes. Take a couple minutes in quiet and see what the Lord's saying. All right, we'll see you next week here for Ask Father Friday.